Hello and welcome back to Classic Times. Today I'll be going through stage 31 of the Cambridge Latin course, and I'll be covering the topics of ablative absolutes and negative indirect commands and purpose clauses. Okay, let's begin. Ablative absolutes. So to start with, let's have a look at this example. Urbe capta milites discesserunt. So the phrase in bold type is made up of a noun, urbe, and participle, capta, which is in the ablative case. Phrases such as this are known as ablative absolutes, and they're very common in Latin. And they can be formed with a variety of different participles: present, future, perfect active, or perfect passive. And as we're about to see, they can be translated in many different ways, and you should pick the one that sounds most natural in English. And without further ado, translating an ablative absolute. So if we have a look at this example, Arcu dedicato Domitianus ad aulam rediit. The ablative absolute phrase is arcu dedicato. Arcu is your noun in the ablative case, and dedicato is your participle, which is also in the ablative. And as you can see, there's a plethora of ways to translate. And it's just important to go for the one that sounds most natural in English, but they're all grammatically correct. Okay, let's move on to having a look at negative indirect commands. So in a recent video, we looked at indirect commands, which are formed with a verb of command plus ut plus a subjunctive. But now, with negative indirect commands, because they're in the negative form, ut is replaced with the word ne, which is translated with the word not. So in this first example, Caecilius Clementi imperavit ut e villa discederet. This is a regular indirect command with ut, meaning Caecilius ordered Clemens to leave the house. In this second example, Haruspects juvenem monuit ne navigaret. This is a negative indirect command with ne, meaning the soothsayer advised the young man not to sail. And just to reaffirm, this is formed with a command verb plus ne plus the subjunctive. Now let's have a look at negative purpose clauses. So we also looked at purpose clauses in a recent video, and they're formed with a main verb plus ut plus a subjunctive. However, with negative purpose clauses, the ut is replaced with ne, similarly to negative indirect commands. However, with purpose clauses, ne is translated as in order that not, or so that not. So if we have a look at this first example, Quintus ad amphitheatrum festinavit ut ludos videret. This is an ordinary purpose clause with ut, meaning Quintus hurried to the amphitheatre to see the game. However, in this second example, ego in fossa latabam ne hostes me invenerit. This is a negative purpose clause with ne, meaning I was hiding in the ditch so that the enemy would not find me. And just to reiterate, a negative purpose clause is formed with a main verb plus ne plus a subjunctive, and ne is translated as so that not. Now let's move on to having a look at some more vocab. altus, high or deep. Ante, before or in front of. Consistere, to halt. Dux is a leader. Frumentem is grain. Hord quoquam, this is my favourite Latin word, meaning not at all. Idem, the same. Identidem, repeatedly. Nay, as we've just met, means that not, or so that not. Neglegere, to neglect. Orare, to beg. Progressus, PAP, meaning having advanced. Repere, to seize. Scindere means to tear up. Sperare means to hope. Superbus means arrogant. Tempus is time. Undique means on all sides. Vihere means to carry. Vincere means to bind or tie up. Volvere means to turn, and a voltus is an expression or face. Now let's have a look at a few examples of ablative absolutes. Urbe capta milites discesserent. When the city had been captured, the soldiers departed. Omnibus tacentibus libertas nomina recitavit. When everyone was quiet, the freedman read out the names. Pecunia ablata, cives furem quaerabant. With the money having been stolen, or alternatively, after the money had been stolen, the citizens were searching for the thief. So in all of these sentences, I've underlined the ablative absolute phrases. And just remember that I've tried to translate them naturally, but there are many ways that you could translate them. Now let's have a look at a few examples of negative indirect commands. So I've colour-coded command verbs in red, nay in orange, and subjunctive in green. Feminae milites oraverant, ne liberos interficerant. The woman begged the soldiers not to kill the children. Mercator amico persuasit ne villam venderant. The merchant persuaded the friend not to sell the house. Imperavit nuntius ne rederant. He ordered the messengers that they should not return. So in all of these sentences, nay has been translated as not. And finally, before I get you to have a go yourself, let's have a look at a few examples of negative purpose clauses. So the main verb I've highlighted in red, nay is in orange, and the subjunctive is still in green. Per vias celerita contendebamus, ne tardi ad arcum adveneramus. We were hurrying quickly through the streets, so that we would not arrive at the arch late. Imperator multum frumentum ad Aegypto importavit ne cives fame pererent. The emperor imported much grain from Egypt, so that the citizens would not die from hunger. And in all of these sentences, the negative purpose clause, nay, has been translated with so that not, unlike in indirect commands, where nay was just translated as not. So you have to identify what type of sentence it is, so that you know how to translate accordingly. Okay, so hopefully you feel you understand the topics well enough to attempt these following examples. So pause the video and have a go at these. Now let's go through the answers. Duce interfecto hostes desperabant. When the leader had been killed, the enemy were despairing. Senex pecuniam calavit, ne fures eam invenerent. The old man hid the money so that the thieves would not find it. Pecunia amissa, ancilla lacrimare coipit. After the money was lost, the slave girl began to cry. So the first and last sentences are ablative absolutes, which I've tried to translate naturally in English. And the second sentence is an example of a negative purpose clause with so that not. So if you manage to achieve 3 out of 3, that is an absolute success. If you manage to get 2 out of 3, that's still a really good score. If you only manage to achieve 1 out of 3 correct, that is a negative result, but keep going. So in this video, I thought we'd mix it up a bit. So to give you a break from the tenuous grammar, I thought I'd give you a map to label of Rome in the 4th century. So pause the video and try to match up the names of the buildings and landmarks with the corresponding number. So hopefully you've managed to have a go at that, and the answers are up on screen now, but I'll just read them out. So number 1 is the River Tiber, 2 is the Theatre of Marcellus, 3 is the Circus Maximus, which is used for chariot racing, 4 is the Capitol, with the Temple of Jupiter the best and greatest, 5 is the Palatine Hill, with the Emperor's Palace on it, 6 is the Forum Romanum, 7 is an aqueduct, and 8 is the Colosseum, also known as the Flavian Amphitheatre, and finally 9 is the Suburba. So well done if you managed to match them all correctly. That's good background knowledge. So we've now covered stage 31 of the CLC, so let's summarise. Ablative absolutes. These are formed with an ablative noun plus a participle in the ablative. And you should try to translate these in the most natural way possible. Negative indirect commands are formed with a verb of commanding plus ne, which is the negative form of ut, plus the subjunctive, and ne in an indirect command is translated as not. And finally, negative purpose clauses. These are formed with the main verb plus ne plus the subjunctive, but this time ne is translated as so that not. Thanks for watching, and join me in my next video where I'll be covering stage 32 of the Cambridge Latin course.